I want to show you a template application that I use for local development tools and internal apps that is all in one directory and uses React, Vite-React in the front end, and Node Express and a lowdb library that reads and writes to a JSON file in the backend. Very useful for like admin tools or dashboards, that kind of thing, and quite robust. Here's an example of it. This animation is about to start over, so we'll go through it here. The basic, right. So after you do an npm install and npm run dev, you basically get this here. You see you have the React router menu. It's fully responsive. So everything there at the beginning. This is all interactive on the front end using easy-peasy Redux. I'll show you that. And here I'm going to press the delete button, which calls a route in the backend, which deletes that item from the database, which is the JSON file. Exactly. And so I just deleted another one. So that's basically how that works. The main running elements of this application are Vite-React in the front, TypeScript on both front end and back end, sharing types between them in a shared folder, which is nice. So you have the types that you use on front end, back end in one place. React router with the create router browser. It's nice. I use easy-peasy Redux for state management. Easy-peasy is a wrapper for Redux, which makes Redux much simpler. It's basically one file, well, a file for each module, which is like a Redux toolkit slice. But you have thunks for async and your actions and your state, and you can have computed state as well. So very nice. Zod for validation and cleansing, which gives you the security that any data that enters your application is the shape that you want it to be. Basically, Zod is like TypeScript for runtime. I use Tailwind and Sass as a backup. It's always there for you if you need it. NodeMon for hot reloading, of course. Concurrently is a little library that enables us to just type npm run dev and it starts the backend and the front end concurrently, hence the name. And yeah, it's responsive as we saw. So yeah, let me set this up for you so you can see how easy it is. We are here at this repository. Don't do this. Instead, do this. Use this template. It's much easier. Create a new repository. And then on your GitHub account, let's just type some numbers here and fullstack or something. As an example, type in a name here. It'll say if it's available and create the repo. Once you get the repo running, you can then clone it. So let's clone it here in our projects directory, git clone, and bam, that will create a directory et92. I will now open up Visual Studio Code. Oops, 922 exactly. In this directory and immediately go to my terminal and do the npm install. I'm not sure what I just typed, so let me do npm install. It is installing the node modules. And now we will do an npm run dev. And while that's starting, let's look at what it's running actually. In package.json file, we have scripts. One is dev here. It's opening. This runs concurrently. C1C is concurrently the backend and then the front end. The backend, this API is NodeMon, which is here backend API index in here, running on TSX. The front end is a a Vite-React site running on port 3200, and it automatically opened as we see here. So this is the site. React menu works, and here we can click and have the interactivity that we want. So let's put this on one side and the code on the other, maybe. Kind of look at this. Maybe I can make this a bit smaller, like this. Yeah. So I just want to give a little overview. You can understand this as a Vite-React site, which has a backend directory in it, which is the backend. Let's look at the backend first. If you click on data and the db-json file, this is the database. Lowdb uses one file as the database, and it's an object, and each of the properties is a collection. So that's how that works. And here we have the API starts in index, and you see that I don't immediately have the app, define the app variable here, but I define it in server and get it from server here. Why? Because this makes it easier to test later with, for instance, super test. So it's just one more step and we're in the actual server. We get app from Express, and so this is the main route here slash. So if you were to go to localhost and then the backend port here, I don't know why it opens that up, but the backend port is in a config.hy, which is also in share along with the types that are shared between the backend. So you have a shared space for front end and back end, which is nice. So if we were to go to localhost, actually this is still running, yeah, 3300 is the backend. Okay, so if I go to localhost 3300, enter, I see the exact text that I have here in the server. So welcome to, welcome to. Right, so then we have another layer of routes, and that is in API flashcards. If you go here, you see that basically we're talking about two files here, flashcard router, flashcard handlers. So the router is simply handles the routes, of course. That's what we have in this file are the routes. And this is to get all of the flashcards, get slash, so this will be get API flashcards. Then you get a specific flashcard. You can create a flashcard. You can replace a flashcard. You can replace properties in a flashcard, and you can delete a flashcard. So I have all of the basic routes for CRUD set up so that you can make other items in your database and write the routes for them. So all of these call methods in another layer, handlers, and this is the database layer. So this uses lowdb, which reads this file here and puts everything in a db object, which then is used to, if you get all the flashcards, it just returns db data flashcards. Quite simple once you get the syntax down. And what's good about this is that if you wanted to use SQLite, MySQL, MongoDB, an online MongoDB Atlas, or anything other than lowdb, you would just simply write this file again and create the proper internal code for each of these methods or functions, and there you have it. So you could replace the data layer quite easily, and that's the backend. So the rest of this app is simply a Vite-React app. As always, starts with index, goes to main. Here, we can even click here, I think. Yeah. In main, this is the React router. You see that it's wrapped in store provider. And store provider is, wait for it, easy-peasy. So easy-peasy is the state management, kind of like, what is it? It's a lot like Zustand, if you've used that, or Jutai, I believe. I've used Zustand a little bit more, but basically it's one file here, and you then have one file for each of your models, which are comparable to slices in Redux toolkit. So yeah, we have a main model. Here you have your it's all 100% TypeScript, which is very nice. You have the interface here, state, actions, thunks. You can also have computed state, but these are what I use mostly. And then you have them implemented here. So thunks you can use anytime you call other actions or have any kind of async, then you use a thunk. And that's about it. I mean, once you get that down, you're good to go and can write some pretty complex stuff with easy peasy. So here's an example of here's the flashcard model. So you have some more states, some more actions, and some more thunks, etc. So let me show you how this is then used. In app.tsx, we have a line here which gets from the main model the initialize method or function. And then when the page is loaded, it is called. It is executed. So let's look at that. Initialize, what does it do? It is a thunk. It loads data into all of the state variables. So here it reaches into another model, which is also a nice feature. You can, the models can use each other. So here we call into load flashcards thunk. I think I can just go right in there. It does this thing again. Okay, load flashcards thunk. So thunks here, load flashcards thunk. So this is where it loads all the flashcards from the back end. I have another layer here called dataModel, so that the dataModel takes care of all of the data loading. So it has Axios, for instance. Now, another reason why I have the dataModel is because I use something called Zod, which validates all the data coming in, basically TypeScript for runtime. And so you see here we have a basic, okay, it's returning a promise. So because it's async, because it has to get data from the backend. So that's what's going on here. And we basically have the await, and we get the API flashcards from the backend. Now, the thing is that we hope that they're all correctly shaped and have the right data and stuff, but they may not. So we use something called Zod to check that. And I'm going to have to show you now in share, in types, what Zod is. Zod basically defines a schema and says that each schema, let's close on this here, close others, and then open up our data, where is our data? Right here. So can I actually put this to the right, split to the right? Yeah, great. So we see here that we have a schema that defines an object, or the schema is defined with category front back, and each of these items has category front back. That's for a new flashcard, and then a flashcard schema has all of these three plus the SUUID. Now, if you look at this though, category is a string, front is a string, and back is a string, so they have to be a string. If they're a number, it won't validate, and it won't even import it, which is nice. But look at this, the SUUID, these things are short UUIDs, that's my name for them, I guess. And they are numbers and upper and lowercase letters, and there has to be 6. And that's what this says here. It has to be a string, it has to be 6, and if it's not 6, then it will not import the item and will give a message, an error message that says SUUID must be exactly 6 characters, which is very nice. And then you have here a regex, which also checks to make sure that there's not a $sign in there or a slash or something. Space. Yeah. So that's very nice. Now look at this. We get our types inferred from the schemas. So TypeScript and Zod work together. You basically only have to create Zod schemas and then infer all of your types from them, which is very nice. So that's a little background of that. And then the way this validation works is kind of nice as well. If we go into the data model, we see that, okay, we get our response. I call these fetched flashcards because they may not be correctly shaped. They may not be valid. And then I create a front-end flashcards, and we know that front-end flashcards are valid and have are cleansed, they're trimmed, and we know that they're valid. So we go through all of the fetched flashcards one by one, and we say here parse result, safe parse, and it checks and to see if everything's okay. If it is, we have success is true, and so we get all of the little properties from the from the data. Yeah, from what just came in, the object. And we create this front-end flashcard that is very clean. It's all trimmed up, and we know that all of the data is there. And then we add it to the front-end flashcards. If the flashcard did not validate, then we throw it out into, yeah, we give it back as an error. Exactly. Right, we have here right, this parse errors, console error, exactly. So this resolves it, exactly, yeah. Right, so let me just give you an example of this. So we have here the db-json, and we have here our site, and so we load it, and everything's okay because all of this data is valid. But what if, for instance, you know, somebody added a flashcard here, and instead of front, they called this title or something like that. Okay, now it just hot loaded, hot reloaded, and now if I reload this, we'll see that it only brought in 3 flashcards because it only wants valid data in the application, and that is very nice. So let me show you what is in the console here, and it says here invalid flashcards and import error in field front. The field front is required, and it's not there. And so you see which one it is. So you can imagine you could put this into you know, what is that, Winston or something, some kind of logging library. And you know, if you have 10,000 records, you get like 32 of them that are invalid, and you can see how they are. You can go fix them all, which is very nice. So let's put this back. It's now called front. I reloaded, and it should load all four again. Right. And so this also works with this regex, so this only has 5 now. If I reload it, it's going to only load in 3, and it'll tell us here, error in field SUUID. SUUID must be exactly 6 characters long, and it's not. Okay, so let's make it 6 characters long, but we'll put in a slash. So is it going to import it? No, it won't, and it will have a different error. Error in field SUID. SUID can only contain upper or lowercase letters. So you see that it's very fine-grained. Very fine-grained. Very nice. Solid. for the win. So that should load it in. Yeah. And that is basically the interesting parts of this app. The rest is basically this interaction, which is classic, more just classic React, JSX and stuff. Let me just show it to you though. Pages, welcome, yeah. It has everything in a flashcard area. I made it like this because when you use this template, you know, you're not going to, of course, want to have flashcards. You want to have something else, and it's all in one space, so you can just delete that and get on with your own items or whatever you want to build. But if we look at this, we see that what's interesting here is how we load these things. So if we want the front-end flashcards, we just say const front-end flashcards from use typed store state. That's the easy-peasy store in the flashcard model, and we want the front-end flashcards, and that's all, and then you have them. And then we also load in toggle front and flashcard thunk, and delete flashcard from data source thunk, and there we have it. I mean, it makes the front end really simple, like Redux does, but just in a different way. You don't have dispatch or anything here. You just have the functions, and then so toggle is used in on-click toggle, bam, you send the flashcard, and delete is on-click delete, bam, you send the flashcard. That's it. So yeah, it's a nice way to program. Like I say, I use this for you know, any kind of little app that I just need on my local computer with one user. Very nice to have data in a JSON file that you can edit, you can programmatically change, and anything like that. And yeah, if you want to make a site out of this, host it at Hetzner or some other place, you could adapt this quite quickly to use another database or something like that. So have fun, enjoy, and yeah, that's all for now.